If you scroll through Excel's function list, there's one function that looks completely pointless. It's called n. But for those in the know, n lets you hide comments inside your formulas, so they literally explain themselves. Today, I'll show you how to add comments inside your formulas at the beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels, where it breaks, and how to fix it when it does. Okay, let's start with what n is supposed to do, because that's the setup for everything else. N takes whatever you give it and tries to convert it to a number. Here we've got a table of inputs. I'll use the n function to reference the inputs, and you can see a number like 250 stays at 250. Nothing changes. True becomes 1, false becomes 0. That's their numeric equivalence. A date becomes its serial number. That's the number Excel stores behind every date. And here's the important one. Any text becomes 0. North becomes 0. An entire sentence becomes 0. At this point, you're probably thinking what most people think. So what? And that's fair. If you want true to become 1, there are other ways to do that. But that last behavior where text always returns 0 is exactly what we're going to exploit. Let's say you're running payroll and you need to calculate bonuses. Sales reps only earn a 5% bonus if their monthly sales beat target. Now, most Excel users know we can handle this with if. If monthly sales are greater than the target, and I'm going to press F4 to lock the reference, then take the monthly sales multiplied by the bonus rate, again F4 to lock the reference, otherwise 0. Works perfectly, but here's the problem. 6 months from now, you, or worse, your colleague covering for you, opens this file and can't remember what this formula is supposed to be doing. Your first instinct might be to right-click and add a new comment. Bonus only applies above the monthly target, but they add a lot of visual clutter to your file that's not necessary. So let's get rid of that comment, because there's a better way that works great for auditing, and that is to put the note in the formula itself. So F2 plus n, inside double quotes, enter your comment, close parentheses on n, press enter. Now the result doesn't change because, as we just saw, n of any text returns 0, and adding 0 changes nothing. But now if you look in the formula bar, the formula explains itself right where the logic lives. Copy it to another sheet, another workbook, email the file to a colleague. The comment travels with it every time. Now, before you go adding plus n to everything, let me save you from the error message that's coming. This trick has one big limitation. It only works on formulas that return numbers. On this sheet, we're building display names for invoices by joining the first and last names together. Watch what happens if I use the same trick here. So I want to insert the text full name for invoice headers, close parentheses on n, press enter, and I get the value error because Excel can't add a number, even 0, to text. So let's undo that. So is there a way to comment text formulas? There is, and it's sneaky, the repeat function. Repeat repeats text a given number of times. So repeat ha 3 gives you ha ha ha. But what happens if you repeat something 0 times? Well, you get an empty string. Nothing at all. Let's Control Z and test it out. So instead of n, we're going to join repeat, and I need the ampersand because we're adding text. REPT, what's the text? Full name for invoice headers. How many times am I repeating it? None. Close parentheses. Now the result is identical because joining an empty string to text changes nothing, but the comment is sitting right there in the formula. So now you've got the full toolkit, plus n for numbers, ampersand repeat with 0 for text. If you're not familiar with the repeat function or how it works, I recently made a video about it that you can watch here. By the way, if you're enjoying this kind of formula trickery, understanding not just what functions do, but how to combine them in ways most people never think of, that's exactly what my Advanced Excel Formulas course is about. You'll learn through step-by-step tutorials, practice workbooks, and real-world examples, plus support from me when you need it, so you can move beyond the basics and start solving problems others can't. The link is in the description and pinned comment if you're ready to level up. Now, I told you n had more than one trick up its sleeve. Remember at the beginning we saw that n turns true to 1 and false to 0. Let's say I want to flag deliveries that arrived after their promised date. I can do that with a simple logical test that compares the actual delivery date to the delivery due date, and I get a series of true and false values. But rather than returning true and false, I can wrap that in the n function. And now I get 1 for late deliveries and 0 for on time. and that makes it much easier to total or average later on. If you have Microsoft 365, there's a modern function that takes self-documenting formulas to a whole new level: let. With let, you can name the parts of your formula and then use those names in the calculation. Here's our bonus formula from earlier. Let's rebuild it with let. I'm going to Control-Shift-U to expand the formula bar. I'm going to write the formula up there where I have more space. And I'll start with the note. So first we define the name, that's note. Then open my double quotes, enter my note, close double quotes, comma. I'm going to Alt-Enter down onto the next row because then we define the target value. We'll call it target. And that is in cell D6. I'm going to F4 to lock the reference, comma, Alt-Enter. Next we want the rate, which is in cell D7, F4 to lock the reference, comma, Alt-Enter. Next I define the reference for sales. That is my monthly sales column, comma, Alt-Enter, and now I can write my if formula. If sales are greater than the target, and you can see in the autocomplete the defined names are appearing so it's easy to write, I can just tab to select target. Then sales times the rate, otherwise 0. Close parentheses on if, close let, and press enter. We get the same results. Two things are happening here. First, the logic itself becomes readable. If sales are greater than target, then sales times the rate, otherwise 0. You can read it out loud and it makes sense. And second, that note variable at the start, it's never used in the calculation at all. Excel allows that, which means let gives you a built-in comment slot, no end function required. So which should you use? Let is the cleaner, more powerful option, but it's Microsoft 365 only. The plus end trick works in every version of Excel and on files you share with other people stuck on older versions. Know both and you're covered everywhere. And again, if you're not familiar with the let function or how it works, here's the video that explains everything in simple terms and examples. Now that your formulas can explain themselves, the next question is whether the other functions you use day to day are the best tools for the job. In this next video, I'll show you 10 modern functions some people don't even know exist that can replace entire blocks of clunky, dated logic. I'll see you there.